I think the band was definitely started in that vein with being like incredibly complex, technical, but also very atmospheric. You know what I mean? Like, I think that was kind of the original like effort of the band was to be that technical. Like the influences at the time were like, like Necrophagist and Spawn of Possession and Deeds of Flesh and like the Faceless, but we're also really into like some atmospheric black metal and some kind of like maybe some like trance music and atmospheric, I guess nowadays like vaporwave. So that was kind of like always the original sound of the band. But I think just like, as I'm writing albums, we're kind of developing a sound and also trying to experiment with new elements. So you can kind of see that with the albums. Like the first album is pretty much a technical death metal band. It's like we're all like 17, obsessed with Unique Leader Records and anything technical death metal. And it was just like we just wanted to be in the club and just do our best to put out a good album for our age. And then right after that, we released an EP simply because we wanted to add new elements and we didn't want to do a whole album of new stuff without people, getting a taste of it. And that like kind of led us into our second album where we tried all these that album was huge. You know what I mean? There's so many layers. The songs were so long, and it was a very massive record. And pretty much once we had Flesh Prevails finished, we had to start writing on Dreamless essentially because we had finished up our record deal with Unique Leader Records, and then Nuclear Blast wanted a record from us. We started working something out with them. So it's kind of like had to write those two albums all at once. You know what I mean? So it was like we had this first album, and then I had like basically two albums that we wrote kind of at this in the same session. What it feels like to me, you know what I mean? It's kind of the same music, the same idea. Obviously, they have unique sounds to them each. They're two different sessions or whatever. So I think when going on to Undying Light, I just wanted to have a completely different sound. I wanted to experiment with different layers and kind of different ways of organizing the music and, pulling back on certain elements and trying other things and, trying to add more air and focus on tones. And you know what I mean? I feel like I really like did exactly what I wanted to do with Undying Light, achieved like this kind of sound that for me was really challenging to pull together or whatever. So after that was finished, like I pretty much as soon as I finished that record, I knew that I wanted the next record to be like really complex and intense with the guitar work, and I wanted it to be kind of like a kind of not like quite a return to form, but an homage to what the band's goals were earlier in our career, but do it with like, the experience of like, I think we're all around 30 years old right now. We started the band like that first record came out when we were like 17 or 18, attempting to do all that technical metal stuff. So I think we've all gotten better as musicians. We've all matured in what we like listen to and how we think about music. And it was just like, I think it's time to go and try to do that. But I think what we did with this one that we didn't have with the first one was just like this pure aggressive energy. You know what I mean? I feel like even though there was a pandemic and everything was shut down, they're telling us like, nothing's going on. I had this energy, like this, just like this pissed off. Like I want to make something that just like rips people's fucking dicks off their face. You know what I mean? I just wanted something to just blow people's minds that, because I think that was kind of one of the original goals of the band was to play music that just like kind of blows you away. Like I didn't know it could be played like this. I didn't know things could be this technical, but also this pretty and atmospheric and like kind of have these dynamics of the band. And when I was writing Undying Light, it was kind of like, I don't need to impress anybody anymore. I don't need to show you how good I am at guitar with all these different parts. And I kind of knew that. And I wanted to make music that kind of said that, it was like, if you know the band, the kind of technicality we're capable of. We don't need to like use that as like an element. But for this album, it's like quite the opposite. It's like, let's take it even further than we've ever gone before and maybe try to achieve or execute ideas that we wanted to when we were younger that maybe we just didn't have the brains for, or you know what I mean? Like always been obsessed with Necrophagist and how they do counterpoint riffing. You know what I mean? They never have two of the same guitars going at the same time, and even if they're harmonized, it's not like how like the Black Dahlia Murder does it, maybe, or like maybe some other bands where they have two guitars playing the same motif, but they're doing different harmonies. Maybe they're like a third apart or a fifth apart. Like Necrophagist would do stuff where it's like octaves apart, completely different accents, but when you put it together, like in your speakers, it sounds like totally awesome. And so it sounds like like a mosaic of like music or like a tapestry. You know what I mean? It's not just like two things playing the same thing harmonized or whatever. And I wanted to try ideas like that. And yeah, I don't know, just the whole idea was, let's just try to make it, as clean as we can make it, something that's digestible, but also when you like pull back the layers, there's a lot going on. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think we did it with this record. But to answer your question fully, like we wanted to sit down with like an aggressive attitude and make something that's like going to blow people's minds, but still has that like balance and the elements that Fallujah kind of always has kind of been alluding to.